everyone, I'm Mr. Broke Bradley. Let's not waste any time and jump straight into it.
In 2021, global inflation began rising at the fastest rate in 40 years. By 2022, the average working person had lost the equivalent of one full month of purchasing power from their annual salary, without losing a single day of work. Nobody took that money directly from their account. It simply disappeared. This video explains exactly where it went and who received it. Bradley woke up one morning and noticed something strange. His salary had not changed, his job had not changed, his spending habits had not changed, but somehow everything cost more than it did 12 months ago. He checked his bank account, the same amount arriving every month, but by the end of each month, less remaining than the year before. Bradley had not done anything wrong. Bradley had not made any bad decisions. Bradley was simply experiencing something that affects every working person in the world, but that almost nobody fully understands. That something has a name. It is called inflation, and it is far more than rising prices. Inflation is a mechanism that, by its design, moves purchasing power away from people who hold cash and toward people who own assets. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is basic economics, and understanding it could be the most important financial education you receive this year. Let us start with what inflation actually is, because most people understand the symptom but not the cause. Inflation, at its most basic, means that the same amount of money buys less than it did before. But here is what most people do not understand. Inflation does not destroy that purchasing power. It transfers it. When the purchasing power of your cash decreases, that value doesn't vanish into thin air. It moves to whoever owns things whose value rises with inflation. Property owners see their asset value rise. Business owners see their revenue rise. Commodity holders see their holdings appreciate. Meanwhile, the person holding cash sees their purchasing power quietly erode. According to data from the International Monetary Fund, in periods of high inflation, the wealth gap between asset owners and non-asset owners widens at more than 3 times its normal rate. In plain language, when inflation rises, the rich get richer, not because they work harder, but because they own things that inflation makes more valuable. And simultaneously, the person who works hard, saves their cash, and does everything they were told was responsible, loses ground every single year. This is not an accident. Economists have studied this relationship for a century, and the conclusion is always the same. Inflation is structurally more damaging to people without assets than people with them.
Now, let us address 3 beliefs that most working people have about inflation and why each one is costing them money right now. Myth 1. Inflation affects everyone equally. Reality, inflation hits people without assets dramatically harder than people who own them. Myth 2. Keeping money in a savings account protects you from inflation. Reality, if your savings account pays less interest than the inflation rate, your money is losing value every single day it sits there. Myth 3, inflation is a temporary problem that goes away on its own. Reality, inflation has existed in every economy in recorded history, and periods of low inflation are the exception, not the rule. Now, let us go deeper, because understanding the actual mechanism of inflation is what separates people who protect themselves from people who get hurt by it every year. When more money chases the same amount of goods, prices rise. This is the basic supply and demand mechanism of inflation. When central banks increase the money supply, they are essentially adding more money to the system without adding more goods, and prices adjust upward to reflect the new money to goods ratio. Now, here is the critical question. Who benefits when new money enters the system? The answer is the people who receive the new money first, before prices have had a chance to adjust upward. Economists call this the Cantillon Effect, named after economist Richard Cantillon, who first described it in the 18th century, and it explains precisely why inflation transfers wealth rather than simply reducing it. Who receives new money first? Typically, financial institutions, large corporations, and asset markets, all of which are already owned predominantly by wealthy individuals. Who receives new money last? The working person, whose salary adjusts to inflation months or years after prices have already risen, meaning they spend those months paying higher prices on the same old wage.
Now, the most important question: what can an ordinary working person actually do about this? The answer begins with understanding one fundamental principle. In an inflationary world, holding cash is a guaranteed slow loss, and the only protection is ownership. Step 1. Understand the real inflation rate affecting your specific life, not the official headline number. To calculate your personal inflation rate, compare what you spent on your top 5 expenses last year versus this year: rent, food, transport, utilities, and communication. Step 2. Move any cash sitting idle for more than 3 months into something that at minimum keeps pace with inflation. Step 3. Develop at least one income stream whose earning potential rises with inflation, because a fixed salary in an inflationary environment is a shrinking salary in real terms. Step 4. Educate yourself continuously, because inflation policy changes, economic conditions shift, and the person who understands what is happening is always better positioned than the person who does not. Bradley sits down that evening and does something he had never done before. He calculates his personal inflation rate for the past 12 months. The number he arrives at is higher than the official inflation figure he had seen in the news, significantly higher. He realizes for the first time that his salary has not stayed the same over the past 3 years. In real purchasing power terms, it has been quietly falling. He also realizes that every month he has been proud of himself for saving cash. He has actually been slowly losing ground without knowing it. But here is what changes for Bradley in this moment, and what needs to change for you watching this right now. Understanding inflation does not just explain the past, it changes every financial decision you make from this moment forward. Bradley is not a victim of inflation, not anymore, because victims do not understand the mechanism. Bradley understands the mechanism now, and that changes everything. Inflation is not going away. It has existed in every economy in recorded history, and it will continue to exist long after this video is watched. But knowing how it works, knowing who it benefits and who it hurts, and knowing what ordinary people can do to position themselves on the right side of it, that is knowledge worth having. Share this video with someone who has been working hard, saving cash, and wondering why it never feels like enough, because now you both know why, and more importantly, what to do about it. This has been FinWise Edge, the financial education the system never gave you.